We all know that we don't want to come down steep in the start of the downswing. We want to shallow that club. See, when you come down steep, it's going to lead to a lot of issues. It may lead to chopping down into the golf ball. It may lead to coming over the top. Or what it usually leads to is that early extension flip. As you can see in the slow motion video of Clay with the steep swing, you can see how he's standing up out of his posture and he's really throwing his arms at the golf ball. You can see he doesn't have any control of the club face. It's not a very good strike. It's very, very difficult to be consistent when you do that. So what we want to do is shallow out the club so that way that club is on plane as soon as possible. You can stay in your posture, turn through the golf ball, get all that compression and shaft lean that we see all the tour players getting. Now I see a lot of people working on this, but they're always doing this one thing wrong, which is going into that right side bend early. So side bend is where, if you imagine my right shoulder getting closer to my right hip, that's right side bend. For a left-hander, it's going to be the opposite, left side bend. But that's what I always see. And what that does is it does shallow out the club. And when we go into that side bend early, it absolutely shallows the club, but it puts you in a really bad position. It puts you in a position where now my hips are bumped out, I can't really rotate. Not to mention, this is going to put a lot of stress on my hips and my back. And what it also does is it puts me my right shoulder so close to the ground that even if I wanted to swing from here, I'm going to have a hard time not chunking it. And I'm probably going to stand up and flip at the last second anyway to compensate for it. So what we need to do instead of going into this right side bend early, we need to not only shallow the club in relationship to the ground, it needs to be in relationship to our body as well. We need to imagine this club getting perpendicular to our body, perpendicular to our spine. When you go into that right side bend early, you can see I'm not really changing the club in relationship to my body. I'm just making my body shallow, right? And that's not what we need to do. That's not going to allow you to turn and get into that good position. So I have a great drill for you that's going to help remedy that. So what you want to do is take this alignment stick, is put it through your front belt loops here, and I want you to have it going all the way through your lead side. And when you go into this early right side bend, what will happen is that alignment stick will point up. So what we need to do is we need to have this pointed down in the start of the downswing. And that's going to allow you to get a much better pivot as well and get your hips in your back in a much safer place that's going to allow you to turn a lot better and get this club shallowed out. Then what we need to do is we need to learn how to get this club to shallow out in relationship to our body and not just relationship to our gown. Because if we just work on this hip motion, that's not necessarily going to shallow the club. If I come down steep if I have my arms in a steep position and I rotate my body, right, I'm still going to come over the top. So we need to get this pivot correct along with the shallowing of the club to get everything matched up together. So first, what I want you to just focus on initially is just doing some practice swings where we're focusing on, number one, getting this stick to be pointing down. So I'm just going to take a few practice reps here where I'm really focusing on getting this alignment stick to stay pointing down as long as I can. So I'm just going to do some practice swings where I go up to the top, and then I'm going to imagine this staying pointed down by keeping my hips tilted that way. And you can see how I'm going to pivot much more easily versus if it's pointing up, I'm just locked up. I can't really pivot the right way. So I'm just going to take some practice swing. I'm not going to worry about the shallowing just yet, where I'm keeping that angle down and I'm swinging all the way through. All right? So I'm going up to the top, angle down. So I'm going to do somewhere I pause that way, and now I'm just going to do some fluid ones. Some nice, slow, fluid ones where I'm going to keep that angle down as I start the downswing. So you can see there, I kept that nice and angled down as I started the downswing. So now that we've got the hips working in the correct way, we're not early right side bending, now we need to get the arms to be working in the right way. And the easiest way to think about it is turning a doorknob to the right. If you're a right-handed player, it's going to be to the right. Left-handed player, it's going to be to the left. So when you're starting the downswing, that's what you want to feel like. It's like you're grabbing a doorknob with both hands. Like you have two doorknobs right here, and you're turning both of them. Or you're turning them with both hands. That's what you want to feel like. And you can see when I do that, that's going to get that club to lay down and get it perpendicular to my spine. So now I'm going to add in number one, which was keeping this angle down as long as I can. And then number two is turning the doorknob to the right, getting that club to flatten out in the start of the downswing. So I'm just going to go up to the top here, and I'm going to try to put those together. So the turning of the doorknob to the right and keeping that angle down. So you can see that's what I'm trying to do. So I'm just going to do a few of these where I'm getting the sense and feel of how I'm going to do it, and then I'm going to go on the last one. So I was able to get the club nice and shallowed out. I'm able to get a good pivot as I'm going through. And not to mention, when you get this angle down like this, it's also going to promote more of the laying down of that club, because the forces that you're putting into your hands going that way really makes the club want to lay down. So everything is kind of working with you, which is a nice thing to have. So now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to try and do a slow, fluid practice swing where I go up to the top and I try to put all that together. So go up to the top and then feel that club lay down and feel this stay angled down. Do a couple more. So I can really feel that turning of the doorknob to the right. I can really feel this staying angled down. And if we use this in your practice swing, it's going to get you prepared to hit a golf ball. So now that's what I'm going to try to do here. I'm going to try to put this together here. That feeling of my hip staying angled down and that laying down of the club here, I'm going to try to hit a nice little draw here on this one, a nice compressed little draw. Let me see how I can get this. Do a couple rehearsals here, get that feeling of my hips turning, staying angled down, and the club flattening out as I'm starting down. Let's see if I can get a good one here. Now that we have that club shallowing nicely in the start of the downswing, that's going to promote more body rotation and allow you to get your hands in front at impact. But we still have a problem. When you are a flipper of the golf club, when you're coming in like this, you're not rotating and you're early releasing, you're going to have that lead wrist in a cupped kind of position. That trail wrist is going to be flat. And if you keep those same wrist angles when you have the body more open and the shaft leaning more forward, that's just going to open the club face. So what we need to do is we need to learn the proper wrist angles coming down, so that way that face is square earlier, and we've got that club in the slot. We can just rotate our body and be in a nice forward shaft lean, square club face, and really, really get some compression on that golf ball. So this is what we refer to as the anti-roll method at Top Speed Golf. This is getting the club shallowed out and then getting it squared up sooner, so that way we can turn into the golf ball. So if you'd like to learn more about the anti-roll method, Clay Ballard, the founder of Top Speed Golf, is going to do a preview of a video here in just a second if you want to stick around. But if you'd like to see the whole video, all you have to do is click the iCard that's going to pop up on your screen, or click the link in the description where you can watch the whole video.
Here's the bottom line. If you've been taught to roll the club in the early downswing, that causes the shaft to get steep. And that steep club causes all your problems. It causes you to hit it way behind the big hitters and way inconsistent with your quality of strikes. So you're in the tall grass and the trees and the hazards all day long. Now the great news is this. There's really only two pieces that you need to know to fix all these problems. The first one is we need to learn the proper way to square up the club face. Instead of rolling the forearms and getting steep, there's another way that the pros do this. Once you learn this right way to square up the club face, then you can shallow out from the inside and everything starts to fit together. Now I'm going to teach you this right now in what I call the anti-roll method. You may also hear this called the motorcycle move or the tour twist, but let's walk through exactly how to do that. Now what I want you to do is go ahead and go kind of in the last parallel in the downswing. So here, I want my hips to go ahead and be opening up. I want my club to be parallel with the ground, and I want my hands to be in front of my right thigh. Now, when I take my grip, you're going to notice that when I do this, the club face is basically straight up and down. So if I'm looking at it from this angle, you'll see the face is straight up and down, and my logo of my glove is pointed out in front of me. Now from there,